Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is Blaster Breakdown. Today, the NG2 Goblin by My3D-Base. This is a magazine-fed, Talon-only, 3D printed flywheel blaster designed and printed by My3D-Base in Germany. It takes either 130 or 180 sized motors with custom printed flywheels. It can be purchased either as a fully assembled blaster or as a kit with the printed parts that you then use your own motors, wiring, switch, etc. Today I'll show you how I put this one together with my own internals, including Neo Hellcat motors. This is actually the second Goblin that we've owned. My son has used one for the past 3 years or so and loved it so much that when it finally broke, he only wanted another one the same to replace it. Before we start though, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click like if you enjoy my content. Alright, let's have a look inside. Okay, so here's the Goblin as it has arrived from Germany. I got the kit which has no motors, no wiring, no switch, no connectors in place. So just an empty shell. So here you can see the trigger action. I've always liked the feel of this. Down here, that's the rev trigger. Of course, there'll be a little switch that we'll put behind here. The connector for the LiPo sitting in the back there. And up the front, this black piece is actually the flywheel cage. So there's room for 180 size motors in there. I'm going to go crazy and put Neo Hellcats in there, and the flywheels sit inside underneath this blue piece. Now Christian from My3D-Base has printed a few different versions of the flywheels, so they're standard, but he's also done some that have an extra 0.2 millimeters and an extra 0.4 millimeters of crush. So these ones are slightly less concave than the standard ones. So in theory, the thicker ones have more crush on the darts. We should get higher FPS, but I'll try each of them out and see how we go. So other than that, it's a pretty standard single switch, dual motor, flywheel wiring job. Won't be too complicated to put together. So let's crack this open and have a look what's inside. Okay, so some shorter countersunk Phillips head screws holding the front in place, and some longer ones holding the cover for the flywheels. And here's the cage itself. So I need to take this part off next. Now the magazine well has a couple of these nuts, and when these hex bolts screw in from the outside, that holds that all together. So motors need to go in here through these holes, of course. It'll be easier to wire them up first and then insert them into the cage. So I'll go and do that now. We can touch the flywheels later on. You can see mounting holes for the motors left and right there. So let's go put these in place and see how it looks. Okay, so the Neo Hellcats are in place. I won't say it was difficult to get them in, but it wasn't easy either. It's pretty tight, and because of the strong magnets, they kept wanting to stick together. So a little bit of a challenge to get them in place, but you can see I've screwed them down and they should be nice and firm now. The wires have these little holes to feed through for cable management, and on the main shell you can also see holes either side to help guide the wires back along here, and then some more holes down into the trigger section. So I might just go and do that now of feeding these through. I'm using 16 AWG wire, and that fits quite nicely through these holes. Okay, so I might attach the flywheels now. Christian has an interesting way of mounting these. So there's a hole through the middle for the shaft of the motor, of course, and then he's countersunk bits either side, and putting a screw through the middle then clamps the wheel on the motor. So I haven't seen this kind of mounting before, but it seems quite secure, yet also comes apart relatively easily. So I'm just lining this up with the center of the barrel best I can. Got about 1 millimeter of space there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, that's the front taken care of. So you can see everything's nice and neat, nothing to obstruct the darts or the pusher at all. Good cable management. The next thing will be opening up this bit to get to where the switch needs to go. Then that just leaves the connector. And here you see a couple of mounting holes. Right, so I'll cut that, connect it to the right terminals, have the rest returning back to the connector, wire that up, and that should be just about done. Okay, this switch is wired up, so I just need to line it up with the holes and put these screws in fairly carefully. Very nice. Can reattach this plate. Okay, so this looks pretty good. All I need to do now is put a connector on this end, and then I'm ready to whack a LiPo in and see if it runs. Okay, and here we are, all put together. So there's my XT30 connector. Now I've already tested this with alkaline batteries to make sure that the circuit's right. Always a good safety precaution. So now if I stick in my LiPo, here that's very nice. This all fits in neatly at the back. There we are. Let's get some darts. Okay, here's a nice selection. So the magazine just friction fits in place. And then okay, so that seems to be firing well. Next thing will be to take it outside, get some cronny numbers with the original wheels, and then, as mentioned, I might try the 0.4mm thicker ones and see how they affect the FPS. But that's the build part, done and dusted. As I said, it's quite a simple assembly altogether. It'd be easier if I did this all the time, I guess. Okay, let's get some numbers now. This is with the original flywheels, and I've got Worker Red Gen 2s, 10 darts, see how we go. Okay, that looks like a pretty consistent mid-130s, not too shabby. And now I've installed the flywheels with about 0.4mm extra diameter, so we'll see how that translates to perhaps extra FPS. Again, 10 Worker Red Gen 2s. Okay, that was interesting, so a little bit more FPS, not a huge amount though. I was a little surprised by that, but getting up towards the 140 mark. Okay, here we are 50 feet from the target as usual. I've got 10 Worker Red Gen 2s ready to go. With the first mag, I'll take a bit of care with my aiming. With the second magazine, it'll just be as fast as I can. Let's see how we go. So with these darts, I expected most shots to fly pretty straight. I was happy with what I saw. A couple of bullseyes, I think. Most shots were on target, so I think 50 feet is a really good range for this blaster. Could probably stretch out even a bit further. So there you have it. That's the NG2 Goblin by My3D Base. A compact, magazine-fed flywheeler, available either as a complete blaster or a kit ready to assemble. Please leave any questions or comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.